a year younger than my old man. Nonetheless, welcome once again to this conversation, and now we're going to talk about the economy. And aside from just listening to what is said on the high-level platforms and podiums, we're going to be speaking to the people on the ground, because like they say, qua ground, the difference is clear at times. So we are going to see whether this is the real situation, because we've been given reports of how the country is doing well in terms of the ease of doing business, name it, but traders have been complaining about the state of the economy and in terms of just the state of doing business. And now we're going to be speaking to two small-scale traders. One of them joins me right now. His name is Chege. He's a trader here in Nairobi. Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
Yes, and Chege sells, trades at Ngara, just here in Nairobi. Maybe Chege, unatuambia, first and foremost, maybe just for the sake of clarity, how has business been? Biashara imekuwaje for the past, year or 2 years?
Biashara imekuwa mbaya kabisa.
Ukisema mbaya na mashaki vipi?
Yani biashara si kama vile ilikuwa inaendelea hapo mbeleni. Maisha imekuwa ngumu. Zile vitu unanunua ukienda kuuza hakuna watu wa kununua. Sasa
ukiangalia kati ya mwaka huu, umeisha 2019, mwaka huu bado kama ijaanza kabisa, na hiyo miaka ingine, shida ilianzia mwaka upi?
2017 after kulipitia election. Naona kama shida zilianzia hapo. The last 2 years imekuwa mbaya kabisa.
So ukiangalia mapato yako, what you were making before and what you're making now, what's the difference?
Hapo mbeleni kitu kama tuseme hata ukienda kununua stock, unakuja unauza, unaona, una make profit, unaweza kulipia watoto shule, kufanya vitu zako. Lakini saa hii mambo imebadilika. Juu hata pesa saa zingine ya kukula ni shida. Maisha imekuwa ngumu yani.
Na unauza nini wewe haswa?
Me, I'm dealing with the latest stocks.
Okay. Okay. And so how have you managed to to just kuweza bado kujikimu kimaisha? Ukisema biashara imekuwa mbaya in the last 2 years, how have you still made it?
Tunangangana tunayo. Maybe ukienda ununue mali, kama niende Gikomba ninunue vitu zangu, kuja nazo, maybe unaweza kaa 1 day 2 days, siku 3 unauza. Maybe ukiuza pesa kidogo hiyo unajipanga nayo. Sasa vile maisha ilikuwa juu, iko juu kidogo, unalegeza kaba kidogo. Tuseme kama ulikuwa unatumia pande maybe 500, unarudi chini kidogo kama 300.
Na bei imeongezeka kwa nini haswa? Ni kwa nguo zenyewe ambazo unauza, ama what are the different things ambazo zimefanya bei
kuna many issues. Kitu ya kwanza kama zile robota wale wa mama wanafungua Gikomba, bei ilitoka kama 10,000 to 15,000. On top of that hakuna kitu mzuri inatoka. Unaona, alafu mtu kama Izma Mchinese ameingilia biashara sana hiyo ya manguo. Unaona, amekuja na manguo zake, ameharibu zile zilikuwa za hapo mbeleni sasa.
Kuharibu kivipi?
Tuseme kama vile packaging ya hizo manguo. Wanaleta vitu zingine hazieleweki.
Sorry.
So sasa alafu sasa wakaribu mpaka bei. Sasa nimekwambia kama robota ilikuwa inauzwa 10,000, sasa imepanda maybe between 13 to 15. Ikifunguliwa sasa inatoa vitu zingine fani hapo. Sasa unaona huyo mama anaenda hasara. Hata nyinyi hamtapata ile mali ya kwenda kuuza. Another thing, ukiangalia kama hii sekta yetu ya kuuza manguo ama yani small business imeingiliwa na watu wengi sana. Mtu akimaliza shule ni huko. Naona. Sasa tuseme kama mimi nimenunua nguo kama tuseme 200. Ukienda kuambia customer 500 anakataa, na kuambia kuna za 200 na anaenda ananunua hivyo. Sasa si unaona sasa utabaki na stock yako.
Na usually kwa soko mnakuwa na sort of kama association, kama unapata kuna chairman wa watu wa kikundi fulani. Do you have that kind of plan, and your leadership yenu umefanya nini at least kujaribu kuwasaidia
kujimudu? The big problem, hata mkijaribu tuseme kama hao mama wa Gikomba wale wanauza hizo manguo, wakienda kucomplain maybe wanaongezewa tax nini, hakuna mtu akuwasikiza. On top of that, sasa tukikuja kuuza na sisi, maybe sisi ile chama maybe tuko nayo ni hizi za tunashikana tunatoa pesa hivyo, hizi merry-go round, kitu kama hiyo.
Okay, and so we've had many of these stories ambazo watu wanasema, it's very difficult Lakini ukiangalia in terms of our leadership, do you feel, for instance, right from the president, are doing enough to make sure that maisha yako isikue magumu hayo hivyo?
Hao wacha tu niseme, for the last 10, tuseme 8 years, tangu Kibaki atoke mambo imebadilika. Hii leadership ya Jubilee haijapeleka mwananchi vizuri hata kidogo. Juu zile promises walikujanga nazo, zingine ni hakuna kitu tunaona zinafanya. Sasa hivi sinaona mengi hata siasa. Hakuna kitu wanafanyia mwananchi wa kawaida. Sasa sijui BBA nini vitu kama hizo. Mwananchi sasa yeye akichaguana anadanganywa tu. Ikifika mambo ya utendaji kazi, hakuna kitu wanafanya. Tukimaliza election tunaingilia ingine. Hata mfanyi biashara kwa wapi? Sinaona biashara hizo zitakuwa affected sana. Na sisi tunategemea hiyo biashara.
Na ukisema hakuna chenye wanafanyia wananchi. Si huwa tunaona bado serikali ikifanya they launch projects, wanafanya different things kusema hizi zinasaidia mwananchi. Haoni kama hizo zinasaidia mwananchi?
Sasa project kama gani sasa ya kusaidia mwananchi? Mimi for me ni kusema tu wanasema lakini hawafanyangi. Wanaanzia hii, wanaachana nayo, wanaanzia ingine. Sasa si ni confuse mwananchi.
Okay, we're joined by Michelle Ayuma, who's a social entrepreneur who also runs her own thing. Welcome to the show, to M Life Plus.
Thank you.
Maybe begin by telling us what exactly you do and how your experience has been over the past, year or 2 years in terms of just doing business in the economy as it is.
Thank you once again for having us here. It's a very important time to actually for business people to actually speak about this, especially SMEs. Yes, I'm Ayuma Michelle. I'm a social entrepreneur running LETS, which stands for Leading Through Story, whereby I help and I support African women, youth, and brands through coaching as a coach, as a storyteller, as a speaker, and even as a storytelling consultant. For me, I'm very passionate about empowering Africans to tell their own stories and therefore, winning over investment, impact, and, and actually interest in Africa. So how it's been for the last, I would guess 3 years, it's been really, really tough. I cannot even beat around the bush. It's been really tough, but at the same time, it's also forced me as a creative and also as a business person to think innovatively. Because the whole purpose of business is basically problem solving. So as long as that problem exists, I still have a reason to wake up, dress up, and show up and serve people. So it's challenged me to wake up, dress up, and show up and serve in various ways. So like, for example, it's been very tough to hire. At the moment, I'm not even able to hire assistants or hire anyone, because the way I prefer to hire people is, if I hire somebody, I see a family. I need to be able to take care of this person, including the shusho back in Shags, who needs that support. But it's been very tough. And also, some of the policies, especially for SMEs, getting finance and stuff like that, especially for women. For being financed as women, our banks are very shy with regards to financing women. So it's been very tough, but either way, I've fought through whatever battles came about, because I'm still committed to ensure that that problem that I purpose to solve gets solved. Okay, and
but I thought banks, a number of banks have got what do you call them, packages, cartel for, meant set out for women. But you're saying something different. And these actually working as they're being advertised.
That's actually very interesting that you bring that up. Many banks, many East African banks are very shy. If you look at it from the, from a user experience perspective, many of these banks are still very shy. They still see women as high risk. And so when you see these let's say the packages that are marketed as for women, when you look down into the fine line, they're actually very premium accounts. And so therefore, I look forward to the day when Amamamboga will actually be empowered to call herself a businesswoman and start an actual business account that will allow her to run her business. But at the moment, myself, I'm well educated, I have my own business, but as soon as I go to the bank, do you know what they'll ask me? Are you Mrs. Someone? Do you have land? And collateral right now in the country, I think less than 5% of women own land, and yet our banks, that's the #1 collateral. So you tell me how many women will really be able to open a bank account when the #1 collateral in this country is land, and very few women own land. So it gets to those fine details where, yes, there's some banks that are saying, yes, these are women accounts, they even put pink and they brand it like that. But in fine print and in the ease of actually using these accounts, it's very difficult. I've literally gotten denied by 5 banks to just start a bank account. So that's how
What kind of
difficult
bank
it
account
is.
were you trying to open?
A business account, just very simple. The one which is very transactional. I'm not looking for any big loans. I'm just a small business, and I'm trying to start a business bank account that I can actually transact to.
Did they give you the reasons?
Business,
So is the reason because you're a woman, or is the reason because of the kind of business you have, or you don't have, you don't meet the requirements for opening an account for business?
it's two-way. Number one, I spoke with a couple of some friends who are also entrepreneurs and who've been in the banking industry. So one of them actually told me that there's this, the form that you fill, that's a quiet way of trying to figure out who exactly you are, your status, and that collateral. So that's a silent way of alienating people whom they do not want to bank with. Number two, going to a bank and somebody tells you, you feed us, we feed you. And can you produce big events? And I'm like, dude, I'm just trying to start out and as a coach. And many banks maybe are aware of the very traditional types of businesses and stuff like that, like event management, are you at this, are you at that? But now in terms of coaching, and especially somebody like me whose work, I literally work online because that's what my business has challenged me to do, there aren't those provisions. So because they don't really understand what exactly these businesses are, and mind you, it's not just SMEs, it's also, we have the micro businesses, they're also cottage businesses, and there are many women who run amazing stuff through chamas. But why aren't these people being financed? It's because still today, yes, it's 2020, but still when you go to the fine lines, our banks are they still see women as high risk.
Okay, Chege, she's brought up the issue of kupata pesa financing. For your business, umeweza kufinance aje?
Okay, kama mimi, loans size zimezidikana, vile mandama ameongea. Alafu sasa unajua kulingana na vile maisha imekuwa ngumu, unaenda una apply loan. Unalemewa na kuli. Kama mimi personally mimi wacha niseme kama sasa mimi niko blacklisted, siwezi pewa loan. Juu nilichukua loan, nikashindwa kuli. Juu biashara ukikuja unaenda unachukua unakuja kuamsha biashara inangu. Unaona. Na si ati ni pesa mingi, ni pesa tu kidogo. Hizi maps zote unaona watu zimejaa kwa simu. Watu wengi wamekuwa blacklisted. Sasa hata imefikia kiwango sasa hata wakitaka kutafuta mahali wakutoe tu. Tumeinua mkono. Juu hata loan ukitaka kuchukua unachukua maybe tuseme kama 10,000 ama 15,000 uamshe biashara. Ukienda ununue mahali ukikuja uuze, maybe kuna maisha zingine kama school fees. Familia bado inataka kukula, unaona mzazi wako wakawapo. Inafikia kiwango unaona maybe umepewa 3 months ulipo unashindwa. Sasa si unaona ukikosa maybe kwa another 2 months wanakuweka kwa CRB. Sasa hiyo ndio unaona bado hiyo inalemea watu.
Na sasa ukitaka kuendeleza biashara yako sasa utafanyaje?
Sasa mambo imekaa. Sasa kuendeleza biashara sasa maybe unaenda unakopa kwa mtu. Unaona? Na mimi I prefer hata ukope mtu juu huyu mnaweza ongea na yeye. Unaweza mwambia hata anaweza kuja mpaka kwako kazini unamwambia iko hivi na hivi, kama utaningojea nitakutafutia pesa yako. Lakini hao wengine watazidi kukusubua na simu. Hata saa zingine unapigiwa almost 3 times a day. Naona wakikuuliza pesa yako iko wapi.
Na kati yenu as the traders mnakuwa na mbona wengine wamecreate sacco ama go round kama hizo zinawasaidia?
Zinatusaidianga. Juu zile sacco maybe tuna form. Unaweza enda kwa sako hiyo mmeform hiyo chama mmeform maybe unaweza kuchukua kama 10,000 unaona 5,000 kidbet na nini yako account yako vile inakaa.
Okay. Michelle, he had spoken about something earlier on and talked about how we've got a lot of our leaders getting heavy into politics. It's 2020 January. Elections are meant to be 2022 August. It's been happening in 2019. First, do you understand what BBI is, for instance?
I hear about it, but to be honest, the way our country is right now, it's reached a point where I just don't care, because it's just reached a point where a new acronym will come up, another BBI will come up, another whoever will come up. But at the end of the day, I'm a business person, I have a family, I have a community to support, and at the end of the day, does politics feed me? Will politics serve my clients? Will politics put a roof over my head? No, but my business will. So I do not want to waste my energy. And it's reached a point right now, if I tell you, for people to still be in business in 2020, these are people who fought hard. I'm part of so many women networks where people have sold everything. They've done so much. People's marriages and stuff are broken because of finance. And we are Kenyans who are trying our best to wake up, dress up, and show up to serve. That is where my mind is. It's not on politics. Because politicians don't feed me. I feed myself. And I'm working hard to ensure that I go to his kibanda and I buy something because I know he's in the hustle game just like me. I respect people like these ones. But by the time people are meeting and spending my money that I paid through tax to waste it on I don't know what agendas that they are not even putting in change management communication to at least help people like me and him to understand what on earth is going on, to understand where our tax is going. To be honest, they do not owe my they do not deserve my loyalty, they do not deserve my ears. But anyone who's talking about business, empowering people like us to keep pursuing our dreams, to keep serving our families, to keep showing up for our shows back in the village who need food to eat, because serious stuff is happening in this country. And it's just reached a point where I've just got so much going on that I just do not care for whatever is going on in the political scene at this moment.
Okay, and don't you think that much as you may say you don't care, that this very politicians and all the political noise is going to influence policy that is going to, in the end, affect you, your business, your family, as you've spoken?
Yeah, it's interesting that you talk about policy. So with policy, it's not just politicians who are in charge of policy, right? There are many other people. I've been in so many, like remember when Mzalendo Watch was launching the new report for women and youth. I was there. Those are the people I'm listening to because, and yes, some politicians come on board and they listen to these people. There are many other people other than just politicians who are influencing policy. There's also the private sector. There's also him and I, who influence some of these policies. But at the end of the day, I think I have I particularly have a particular disinterest in dominant stories. And unfortunately, in this country, we've been taught that politics is everything, but it is not. Okay. It is not. So the church is involved. Myself, I'm a born-again Christian. I'm taking that so seriously. You know, there's a whole map of stakeholders who actually influence the policy. So what I'm doing right now is I'm also focusing on these other stakeholders who most of the time are not prioritized, not highlighted, and not spoken of.
Chege, do you care about the BBI?
Hiyo hata sitaki kusikia hiyo story. Hiyo waende nayo na huko. Sasa wanakuja kusubua mwananchi bure tu. Juzi tumefanya election mara ngapi? Last year sasa hii mwaka tumeamkia na BBI. Asubuhi, mchana, jioni. Ukiwauliza ni nini wanapigania hata hao wenyewe wajui. Ni kushida tu akisubua mwananchi wa kawaida. Mimi hata nilikuwa nimesema au politician tuondolee huku Kenya waende country nyingine. Mwananchi wa kawaida abaki huku. Juu ametusubua. Mtu anakuja kukuambia mambo ya BBI, sijui throat, mimi nataka hii, mimi nataka hii. Mtoto haendi shule, wewe mwenyewe unasubuliwa na mambo yako. Hiyo mimi nimeona hiyo ni upuzi kwa mwananchi wa kawaida. Hata kwanza ile kitu walikuwa wamesema bombers ndio wanatoa, ndio wanaleta something different. Unaona? Wanakuja kusubua mwananchi wa kawaida for nothing.
So ukiona hizi rallies zenye wanaweka Saturdays unajihisi vipi?
Hizo mimi naonaga huko maybe wale watu wanaenda huko hawana kazi. Juu hao politicians hawana kazi ya kufanya. Hata uliona yule mama alisema if they have nothing to do, waende wafukuze hizo rockers. Hata politicians wangepewa hiyo kazi. Badala ya kutuharibu dawa, politicians wapewe hiyo kazi waende wakafukuze hizo rockers. Because wanatusubua for nothing. Sisi tuko na mambo mingi tunafikiria. Watoto wasome, vile utalipa loan, unaona? Vile utasaidia mzazi, vitu kama hizo. Juu tukiamka sisi hata hatujuangi. Mimi kwanza kitu kama news hata sionangi. Juu ukienda kuona news kuanzia saa 3 mpaka saa 4 wanaleta hiyo mambo ya BBI sijui nini, huyu wanaungana na huyu, wanaungana na huyu. Mwananchi naye ataungana na nani? Si unaona?
Do you feel that what they're communicating represent what you want?
Kabisa. Na hata wale
wakiongea kwenye hizo rallies na wasema wanakuja na wanasema wako na ratiba, wako na list of things zenye wanataka. Do you feel those are the things that you as a Kenyan want?
Hiyo ni yao. hizo ratiba wanawekanga hapo si ya mwananchi. Hiyo ni yao ya kuwa benefit wao wenyewe. Unaona? Juu ukisikia mtu anataka ati anasema mimi nataka hii na hii na hii na hii, unaona? Mwananchi naye anataka nini mwananchi? Hata ulizange mwananchi. Juu ukienda pale wanasema anapinga huyu anapinga huyu. Si unaona?
Michelle, do you feel what the leaders present at this, say, let's say the most recent is the BBA rallies, do you feel they represent what you as a Kenyan want?
No, not as a Kenyan, not as a woman, no. Because the representation comes out of consultation, you know? You consult with somebody, that by the time you represent them, this person trusts you. They know that, yes, whatever you've discussed, whatever it is you're going to present, you've consulted them and you're actually presenting an authentic perspective about who this person is. So these leaders, I'm not hearing them talk about women. I'm not hearing them talk about business people. I'm not hearing them talk about families and other stakeholders. They are not involving other stakeholders. I'm just hearing them talk about themselves. And I'm hearing them talk about defending their jobs and defending their power and their authority. And to be honest, I have listened to one of the most influential business people in this country, Peter Ndwati, and he actually said, please stop watching politics. Those guys are looking for their jobs. You go look for yours. And if that's one of the most influential business people in this country that I honestly respect, if he said that, then who am I to actually go against that advice? It's about energy management, Dan. At the end of the day, we have 24 hours. At the end of the day, we only have so much energy to give. And I think where you place your energy, it'll grow. So for me, I prefer to put my energy in the God who created me, who's presented me with this life, in my clients, who believe in me and who want to invest in me, in my family who support me when I keep going several rounds of business. Because over the last, I don't know, I've had a business start. I've started a business and it's failed. And it's not easy. I've started another one. And you know, in business, it's project after project after project after project. Some work, some don't. And then I have this group of people who support me throughout. And none of those includes a politician.
Okay. And so, because we need to come to an end with this, what for you should be, just give 3 things that you think are a priority for the Kenyan. I'll begin with you, then I'll come to Frederick.
The number one thing for the Kenyan is, I think, just a leadership that is just full of integrity. Like our leadership in Africa is the number one thing that is holding us back. So if we have leaders who are truly committed to serve, that's the number one thing Kenyans need. Number 2, I think Kenyans need, okay, the second thing I wanted to say, it's something to do with like financial opportunities, because I've had it from him, I've had it from myself. But in terms of, we need opportunities to be able to expand ourselves and a stable economy that enables us to wake up and just do our work. Okay. So a more stable economy. And number 3, I'm not ashamed to say this, as a woman, we need a country that actually listens to our women, that is paying attention to our needs, and that is actually not letting things pass, especially when violence and stuff like that happen. Because women is 50% of this globe, in 50% of this country, and when we hold back our women, we are holding back our own success. Okay. And I don't think Kenya has even scratched the surface of what women can bring to the table. Okay.
Frederick, vitu vitatu ambavyo nafikiria serikali inafaa itilie maanani sana.
Kitu ya kwanza ni washughulikie mambo ya economy. Juu vile economy inaenda, mwananchi ako hatarini. Na at the end of the day, wao wenyewe ndio wananufaika na economy ikiwa baya ama mzuri. Wao hakunanga mahali na affect. Mwananchi ndio anakuwa affected juu food stuff nini zote zinaenda juu. Gharama ya maisha yani ikikuwa juu, mwananchi wa kawaida ndio anaumia juu. Wao mshahara iko, wanaenda ma meeting nini, hizo vitu expenses zao zote ziko catered for.
Ya pili,
another thing, hii mambo ya kusema ate wanapigana na corruption, hiyo sijui nini. Mimi hiyo in Kenya sionagi ikiwaki. Hiyo wanafaa wabadoni wachane nayo. It is not working.
Sasa waache watu wakwe na corruption.
Sasa kama mtu anashikwa, unaenda anaachiliwa na board. Juu ako na pesa. Na yule mwingine hata amefanya kama ni makanga ama ni hoka, anashikwa yeye anaenda kuroti na jail. Na hakuna kitu amefanya. Mimi nimeona hiyo kitu waachane nayo. They have to find another thing. Hiyo ya corruption waachane nayo. Juu mimi sioni it is not working.
Ya tatu?
Ya tatu, mimi ile kitu naweza sema mwananchi asiwe na shaka, mambo itakuwa mzuri. Juu we believe in God. Historia ya wanasiasa tuachane nayo, tuambie Mungu aendelee na kutubariki na mvua, chakula iwe mingi, hiyo ingine.
Thank you very much. Very insightful conversation here with Frederick Chege, who's a trader in Nairobi, here in Ngara, and Michelle Ayuma, who is a social entrepreneur. She runs her own business. And thank you very much for your views. I believe the government should be listening, and this conversation will be online, so they will definitely get the message. We hope something is done. The message is out. It's pretty clear. No need to belabor the point. The business people, at least those we've spoken to, not only here in studio, but even those we've spoken to in our coverage in the different parts of the country, have a common thread of thought and concern. The economy is not doing well, too much politicking, and there needs to be sincerity.